Okay. All right, it is 7 o'clock. We're going to get started. The first item is the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
All right, Ms. Bollenbacher.
Here.
Mr. Chandler is online. Okay, Mr. Chandler, you're muted.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Ms. Compatello is absent this evening. Mr. Hoof here. Mr. Oliverio,
Here.
Ms. Pakalnik is absent. Mr. Rodilla. Here. Mayor Perry. Here. Solicitor Corbel.
Present.
Engineer Keenan. Here. And myself. We have a quorum.
Great. All right, the consent agenda, the council meeting minutes from March 14th. Are on, all these are on the OneDrive, the bill list from March 28th, and the February reports is listed on the agenda. Need a motion to approve the March 28th, 2024 consent agenda pending the bill list approved by the borough president, manager, and treasurer. With our new system, the approvals of every invoice go through all of these in addition to council.
So moved.
Right, Mr. Rodilla,
Second.
Ms. Bollenbacher, any discussion or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Right, motion passes. At this time, citizens may address the Grafton Borough Council on any issue appearing on today's agenda. Only residents and taxpayers of the Borough of Grafton will be permitted to address the council. Comments on non-agenda items will be taken at the end of tonight's meeting. Speakers will be permitted to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes. Groups of people will be required to designate a spokesperson to represent them before the council, who may speak for a maximum of 5 minutes. Please state your name and physical address for the record. Is there anybody signing? Okay. Anybody on Zoom, please raise your hand. All right. President's report, everything that I have is on the agenda today. Mayor's report.
Nothing additional tonight.
Thanks. Solicitor's report.
Just wanted to announce that council held an executive session prior to tonight's meeting to discuss personnel, potential litigation, and to receive legal advice from the solicitor. That's the end of my report.
Engineer's report, Mr. Keenan.
Good evening. So first item on the engineer's report is the Broadhead project. Just as a reminder, this is sewer separation project along Broadhead Avenue. Over the past few months, we've been in the process of obtaining some easements, property easements that are required to make the project move forward. Out of the 5 total properties, we've received easement agreements for 3 of them, and right now we are in the process of trying to obtain the last 2, which are held by the same owner. Right now, we've sent out some information to them to try and obtain it, but it's an ongoing process. We're still trying to obtain the last ones. The Public Works Building, kindly reminder, we have a grant, $200,000 that has been extended and expires in June. Over some discussions, we decided the best way to utilize this funds is to put on some, get the garage doors purchased and installed. And also put in the installation for the building and the site electrical work, bringing the electric to the building. Right now we have quotes for the garage doors and we have a estimate for the electrical work, and the last item, the installation, we are close to getting a quote for that. And once all those are obtained, we can move on to the next steps. Any questions so far? Move on to the stairs projects. First of the stairs, the Belvedere. Over the past few weeks, the contractor has been performing the work. The hand railing is pretty much in completely. They've made a few, they've had to make a few changes when they were installing it. Some of the concrete work, the existing concrete work has been cracked, and best way to move forward to ensure that the handrail holds up is to fix those concrete repairs, and in doing so, a small change order was created to do so. As far as the construction schedule for the remaining sets of stairs that were awarded, there's still a few contract documents that need to be signed between the parties before that can be finalized. But if it's strongly desired, I can email that out to the council when it's obtained. Moving on to the road paving program. The streets have been surveyed. I finished those up. All the data that has been obtained was uploaded to the program's cloud, and the assessment has been completed. And a list of all the streets surveyed and their grades has been obtained. And right now I'm just finalizing the quantities that are needed to determine which streets can fit into the budget. And that should be done within the next 2 weeks, next week or so. Moving on to the pool bathhouse project. This project's moving along pretty good. There's no major holdups at the moment. Everything's moving on as scheduled. Public Works Department is prepared to work on the concrete sidewalk outside the pool bathhouse. Interior, exterior painting has been completed. Grand opening is set for May 25th. Questions so far? The PA American Water is doing some main replacement throughout the borough. Right now they're on Starrett Street doing their work. I reached out to their project manager to try and get their remaining schedule, but wasn't able to get a response just yet. So hopefully he'll get back to me pretty soon, and again, I can provide that once it's obtained.
Also, Larry, we haven't found out yet whether they'd be willing, did we make the ask about whether they'd be willing to split the cost or, yeah?
I had reached out to them also about that, and there's been like sort of a chain. I contacted another PA American Water representative and discussed that with him, and he needs to discuss that internally with PA, with his associates.
Yeah,
But
because
he would get back to me.
okay, but yeah, because we have some of the O&M work that we put out to bid is happening. It could happen up there, and now that we know they went in, we kept that on the bid sheet so that we could also explore doing it, so.
Next is the C20 update. Again, this is a major sewer project that is going on and that will be going on in the borough in the next 2 years. Right now, the project is at a point where we have submitted or we have completed some preliminary design work on the large project, small projects, and have put together all the submittal paperwork for the letter of interest that is required to Alcosan. That submittal was done today because it was due tomorrow. Timeline is the letter of interest submitted at the end of this month, and then we will submit 90% of the design back to Alcosan in June. And then there's a bit of a holding period for a few months, and then we'll hear back in September.
And just that one additional note is we were able to get letters of support from Chris DeLuzio, Sarah Otto, Dan Deasy, Wayne Fontana, and 3 county council members who represent Grafton. So.
Let's move on to the O&M sewer work. This work, the repairs and the CCTV went out to bid, and we had a pre-construction meeting, and we actually did receive a few bids. We did receive some bids, but we still yet to move forward with them. We just received them, and we're going to open them and discuss. And last thing on the engineer's report, the Safe Streets for All federal grant. We've been following up with this with the with the entity that proctors it, and they sent out some emails about some deadlines. The deadlines are in April, May, and August. But we intend to submit by May. Hopefully obtain the grant.
And I did apply to the Municipal Project Hub for help with that. We have not, they haven't gotten to the point of reaching back out yet. But we anticipate that next week, and so I'll be helping foster that through the process.
What is the reason for the multiple deadlines, and is there any advantage to applying sooner rather than later?
Yeah, there's the first two deadlines are just so that they get spaced out for their use, that's what they argue or say on their website, is it makes it easier for them to get them in and then analyze them. And the August one actually moves you to the next year, so that's why we don't want to apply for the August one.
Okay.
And if we have it ready for the April one, we'll apply for the April, because the April one's not till April 14th or something. And I'm just starting to pull some of that together.
Question about the Public Works building, to circle back, the grant expires in June. Is it beginning of June, end of June? Does it have to be, work have to be completed by the end of June? What's the timetable for how that works?
It is the end of June. That is, and we have to get some bids out there and awarded.
Bids
Yeah,
No, the work does need to be, we need to be invoiced
Invoiced by the end of June?
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
so that we can send that in, yeah. So it is a quick timeline, and we're trying to do things on co-stars or things that we don't have to put out the bid. Is the goal. Some of it we might, but we have Gateway on notice, like, because they formed the bid, they do the bid packs. So as soon as we get the last chunk of information, it's going.
further questions, that ends the engineer's report.
Thank you, Mr. Keenan. Manager's report, Mr. Price.
All right, so the first thing is to do is ratify a vote that we did via email. Because to get things moving, and that is a change order for the stairs. We're changing from the painted steel to aluminum. It was an add alternate on a bid package. And so I'd like a motion to approve the change order for the two awarded contracts, A and C, adding aluminum railings and removing the painted steel railings at a cost of $15,279.
Ms. Bolenbacher,
Okay.
Mr. Badilla. Questions or discussion?
Is there any cost difference in fabrication aluminum versus steel, and is that included in the cost?
Yeah, the only difference for it was 8,000 something for one and 7,000 for the other, and it totals, the total difference is 15,000.
Product and fabrication.
Yeah.
And do we know the average lifespan of each? Like, what's the expected benefits?
Oh, yeah, I mean,
Versus
steel we get about 30 to 40 years. Aluminum, and that's best case. We've had a lot that have rusted out before that, because as soon as you put anything on they rust, and unless you keep them painted over and over and over again regularly, they will rust. Most of them already have, and if you walk around the steps, it's the first thing that's gone. Aluminum will last longer than most of us, probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Double the probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, aluminum lasts a very long time, so it will outlast the stairs most definitely. So you'll probably be building the next set of stairs around the old one. So,
And the railing on Belvedere is aluminum?
no, Mike asked that question, and we did not go with aluminum, because this just shows how volatile the prices are. That set of stairs would have been and that's a shorter set than some of the others, would have been almost double the cost. It would have been like $30,000 extra for the steel, and that was just bid like 4 months ago, or 3, but prior.
So the cost of aluminum has come down
Significantly.
significantly. So now would be. a
And
time
steel
for us
has
to do
gone up.
this.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that's why this was so attractive, And, it's rare that aluminum is so close in price
Mhm.
to, steel.
Any additional questions for discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Okay, the next thing is, we'd like to hire a community and economic development position. Upon the recommendation of the borough manager, the administration would like to hire Mike Tedesco as the borough's community and economic development director. So I'd like a motion to approve hiring Mike Tedesco to the position of community and economic development.
So moved.
Ms. Bolenbacher,
Second.
Mr. Hope. Discussion or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion passes.
All right, thank you. All right, and the next is, I just want to update everybody, we're working on a draft of the waste, it's not technically an RFP, I wrote RFP, but the waste collection offering, so we're in the process of doing that. We also have met with the city of Pittsburgh to consider joining them on the services if we don't get bids back that are reasonable. So I'm meeting again with them on Tuesday, April 16th, to figure out, where we're moving on that. So we're trying to basically, we're doing this as early as we can. I'm also setting up meetings to meet with all of the providers. So I'll be meeting with Waste Management, I'll be meeting with Vogel, Republic, County Hauling, and I think that's all of them. I might have named one twice because County Hauling has like 17 different names. But we're in the process of doing that as well.
And the process that we talked about is that once we get the RFPs, they're reviewed, then we will present them to the public.
Yep.
For also public opinion and review before we make any decisions.
All right, and then the next thing, any questions before I move on that? Crafton Boulevard lighting, we are working on fixing the inoperable light that's there. And then ordering shades for the rest of them, because we did a test shade on one of them and it looks better and it's also lighting better, so we have ordered shades for the remainder of those lights.
Which way are they going to turn?
They're gonna be over the sidewalk,
Oh, back over the side.
back over.
Okay,
Because otherwise they're just lighting parked cars, and it really wasn't all that effective. Then the next item on my list is to amend a previous a motion that was made. So this is amend a motion that was made at the council meeting on November 9th, 2024.
2020.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I did, you know what? I thought I changed that, but I missed it. To adopt resolution, this was the motion that it did state, was to adopt resolution 2023-22, appointing Mauer Dussel as the Crafton Borough Independent Auditor for the fiscal year 2023, to conduct a financial audit for the Borough of Crafton at no cost, at a cost not to exceed $15,000. And so I'd like a motion to amend that statement made at the November 9th meeting, 2023, to remove at a cost not to exceed $15,000. And I should step back. The reason we're changing that is it was, I'm not even sure why that number made it in, but that was the original estimate. That was what we had paid last year, but this year it went up and our bill was around $16,000. And since we said this in a meeting, we cannot pay that. And so I need to amend it so we can actually pay our auditors.
Mhm.
Yep. And so with that, the motion has been made. I mean, I'm asking for a motion. Thank you.
Mr. Madilla,
Second.
Ms. Bolenbacher. Discussion or questions?
We were budgeted appropriately for that.
Yeah. Definitely.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
And that is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Our standing committees report, Finance Administration Sustainability, Ms. Perry.
Okay, so we have been able to, I think we've all been past the first quarter of actual budgets, and from all appearances, we're pretty much on track. There are no red flags for anything at this point, so we're in good shape for that. We did have our committee meeting last week, and we're spent a lot of time looking at the dashboard for the projects that administration has on boards for 2024 and getting updates and reports. And so, this is, I can say from past experience, this is a great advancement. Where there's not only increased visibility, but there are actual projects, actionable things that I know past councils and other people have lobbied for over the years. And so what we're actually seeing at this point are processes in place and accountability in place to achieve some of those goals. So it was impressive to me, right? And as the manager mentioned, the sustainability part of we're concentrating on that waste hauling and how we are going to navigate that through the year. And as the manager has mentioned, we're working on the wording for the request for services and also having a second meeting coming up that I will attend with the manager. So that's my report.
Thank you. Infrastructure and land use, Mr. Price.
Oh, I forgot I was covering this one. This is the zoning ordinance update. So basically, we are currently waiting on ZoneCo to give us draft sections of that zoning ordinance. There has been several changes at ZoneCo. Our person who was working with us has left. And the other person who was working with us is on maternity leave. So we are now working with one of the co-founders of the organization. And so they assured me that we will be getting what we need, but we expect to see the first written sections in the next week or two. In the first week or two of April, I should say. So. What's it? Yeah, I guess that is kind of the same thing. Sorry. Yeah, but that's the update at this point.
Planning Commission, Mr. Radilla.
All right, so the March meeting was canceled. Our next one is set for April 23rd, which is the primary election day.
Oh, okay.
So,
Probably need to move that.
yeah.
Catch.
Yeah, that's what I have. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Communication Recreation, Ms. Bolenbacher.
Right, our next upcoming event is our next senior dinner. That's going to be on Saturday, May 4th. We did decide to move the start time back to accommodate people who want to go to Saturday afternoon mass. So I do believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, doors are going to open at 5 now instead of 4, with dinner being served at 5:30 instead of 4:30. Hopefully that will allow some more people to show up for dinner. The theme this year will be Kentucky Derby, since it is on that same date. With more details to come in terms of food and things like that, but get your hats and your seersucker suits ready. They're encouraged. Next up is our cleanup and Arbor Day celebration on Saturday, April 27th. That'll run from 8 a.m. to 11. That will also include a shredding event and a medicine take back, as well as public dumpsters in the park for people to come and get rid of whatever they're spring cleaning out of their homes. From there, we don't have many details yet on the upcoming, but the rest for the calendar of the year, just so you're aware, we have our music festival happening on Saturday, June 1st. We have our Independence Day celebration on Thursday, July 4th. Our Fall Fest this year will be Saturday, September 28th. Haunted Crafton will begin on Saturday, October 19th. That'll be including a trunk or treat at the park. And that will conclude on Halloween, which is Thursday, October 31st this year. Our Christmas celebration of lights will be held on Saturday, December 7th. And our house tour will be on Sunday, December 15th. A logo update. We're trying to get a new logo for Crofton. We are expecting our first drafts of the logo in April, so we should be getting those pretty soon. Our newsletter is assembled. We're just getting it together, and we are still on course for an early April distribution, so keep an eye out for that. And we wanted to bring up a conversation this evening. Someone had brought up the possibility of renting our stage in the park. So we wanted to kind of throw that out to get some ideas, what we think would be a good idea for rules, regulations, if it's even a good idea at all, what might be some potential pitfalls we might be looking at if we do that. So I can just throw that out on the table for people to discuss. So please do.
Who wants to rent out? You know, who they are?
Well, no, nobody has specifically asked.
Right.
This is
Got
like
it.
making it available for
Right.
people.
Right.
We've been asked. In fact, I was asked today by a church in Robinson to do it, but we don't have a formal process for it. And specifically, we have to discuss the rules around a church as well, if there's any issues with that. Because they were intending to do a service or something like that. So we have to make sure that that's okay too, which we haven't explored any of those ideas yet. But yeah, but it would be nice to be able to, I mean, it's a great community asset. It'd be nice to be able to utilize it for more events and more people. And if we, you know, we rent our community center, we rent the pavilions and all that stuff, that's another asset.
We rent the pool too, right?
Oh, yeah, we do pool
Yeah.
parties at the
Okay.
pool as well.
Mhm.
Yep. So then we rent the pool in the evenings. And that brings in, you know, thousands of dollars every year. So.
I think we should probably advertise that we do those things. I'm sure there's, and maybe that's something for the newsletter to be put in there, because I don't think a lot of people know that you can, especially the community center and maybe even the park
Right.
area, definitely the pool.
So.
How would renting the stage be any different than renting a pavilion, for example?
Well, one thing is we need to make sure that we secure possessions in the back. And that anything, you know, so there's more equipment, you know, and there's more stuff, and the Craft and Performing Arts Group has stuff there in a cage, we have stuff there in a cage. We have cleaned out most of the stuff that's in the back there, but we would need to double check and. You know, we want to ameliorate any concerns around that stuff, you know, you don't want any of that stuff to be damaged, you know, so it's a little more involved than the pavilions. Yeah.
And I would think that anything that is renting the pavilion would bring more people than say, I'm sorry, renting the stage would bring, that kind of event would bring more people into the park than a pavilion rental. Could be some public safety issues, some requirements maybe for having some of our safety forces, you know, on overtime or something like that. So really, that's-
Well, that would be the question, I guess, is the park pavilions are only, that's where you would have a reunion or wedding or whatever, maybe not a wedding, but you have something there. And you could, and the stage though, does that mean that people really can't go to your pavilion and be a part of it if they're not an invitee? But for the stage, does that mean you're putting on a performance and you're gonna charge admission? Or like, can I just go and watch somebody who's playing a guitar there when maybe it was for something else, the family reunion, because it is so public? So
Yeah.
how would we regulate the difference between those things? Like, is it a public event where I want to get my band noticed? Or is it the family reunion where I just want to use it to have
Right.
the people doing music?
Were you gonna say something, Steve?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I thought I heard you like ready to, okay.
You can hear, you can.
Yeah, that's fine, I.
Good, keep them moving. We want to hear it.
Yep. Right.
The
Second.
pavilions have an occupancy amount for each of them, don't they?
That's a great question. I don't know if they do,
I
do
think
they?
they do.
Okay,
So
yeah,
the stage would have an equal,
probably, yeah.
I mean, larger, but it would be
Right.
stipulated so that.
Right, right. Great question.
But that's it. If they rent the stage, do they get the grounds
Well,
in
they
front
have
of
to,
that?
yeah.
Yeah,
But if you can't.
And if they do, how much of those grounds? These are the things that.
In
we're
the
trying to
stands,
get.
is it the stands too? So they get that whole area.
Right.
Mhm.
See, it's
Yeah.
a much bigger question than we thought.
yep, yep.
Can we just make this homework, have people think about it and return to it at a
Yeah, there's
later
no
time?
motion.
Yeah, there's no motion or anything, and we can always reach out to other, are there any other communities? I don't know if I know of any other communities that have a public stadium that rents it out. I don't know.
Part of the homework.
Yeah.
Perfect acres.
Have you had it in one of their parks?
They have the action.
Okay.
It's something maybe Moon does too in that big park.
Hampton
Must
does
be
too,
wrong.
doesn't it? I think Hampton. does too.
Okay.
County does with Park Acres.
But do they rent them out? Okay.
That's what I think that's what most of those events are, probably.
A
Yeah.
lot of them
All right.
are Mock County sponsored.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in general, my comment would be, yes, you can rent it. The devil is in.
Right.
That's right.
So reach out to those communities, see what they're.
Exactly.
That's probably a
Yeah.
good start.
Yep. Okay. Good marching orders there. Thank you.
That was it for my report, so thank you.
Great, great, thank you. Mission vacancy, Mr. Rodilla.
All right, so we have some motions tonight. The first is a library board appointment. We would like to appoint Tiffany Hickman to the correct term on the library board. So. Can I make a motion or?
Yep.
So I move to appoint Tiffany Hickman to the Crafton Public Library Board for a term to expire on March 16th, 2026.
Ms. Bolenbacher, discussion or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
All right, next we have two appointments for the planning commission. So the first motion is to appoint Rhiannon Holler to the Crafton Planning Commission for a term starting on April 13th, 2024, and to expire on April 13th, 2028.
Second.
Ms. Bolenbacher, and for clarity, this is the opening under 4B that expires April 13th.
Yes.
Any other discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
All right, and our last motion, I move to appoint Megan Winters to the Crafton Planning Commission for an active term set to expire on April 13th, 2027.
Second.
Mr. Hove? For this, why is this position open?
We had a resignation on the planning commission, so that's to fill that open position.
Okay. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes.
All right. So to go over some of the current open positions, as a reminder, you can always apply at craftonborough.com/commissions. We have one civil service alternate. We have one zoning hearing board alternate. We have one library board. And then upcoming, we have a shade tree commission expiring on March 31st, a civil service expiring on July 1st, and two rec boards expiring on September 30th, and two zoning hearing boards expiring on December 31st. Oh, and then one zoning hearing board alternate, also expiring on December 31st. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Council of Governments, Ms. Bolenbacher.
Our borough manager and council member Chandler joined me this month. There wasn't a guest speaker. They just passed out some additional information, some books on grant writing. So if anybody's interested, I have a couple. And just to announce that our next meeting will be Thursday, April 18th at 6:30 here. We are going to be hosting this. So everyone's invited, as always. I unfortunately will not be there. I will be out of
I'll be
town,
there.
so I would love for you all to represent.
Okay.
If it makes it any better, I'm gonna order Seraphines.
Oh. That was the next question.
Yeah.
Bring people in.
There you go.
It's probably
Right.
And what's the theme?
Making John laugh, that's the thing.
Yeah. All right, community announcements. Upcoming council meeting is 2 weeks, April 11th at 7 o'clock. Crafton Spring Forward Cleanup Day, as Ms. Bullenbacher had talked about, Saturday, April 27th from 8 to 11. AM at the Crafton Park, there will be shredding and medication take back hosted by Dan Deasy and Wayne Fontana. Dumpsters will be available in the park to help you with your spring cleaning. In addition, you can come to the Borough Building starting at 9 to join the community members who will be walking through the borough and picking up litter through noon. Also that same day is our Arbor Day celebration. We are Tree City USA. So that part of that is an Arbor Day celebration, and that will be at 11 o'clock in Crafton Park. We'll have a little presentation there in the park. So we encourage everybody to come. And as we mentioned before, Election Day is Tuesday, April 23rd from 7 AM to 8 PM. Make sure to confirm your polling locations as they have changed in some of the wards.
Also, we will be opening the stairs for that, and making that a focus. So most people will go up via the stairs as opposed to the elevator, which is not built to accommodate that volume of people.
Right. Anybody else have any announcements? Okay. Public comment. At this time, citizens may address the Crafton Borough Council on any issue. Only residents and taxpayers of the Borough of Crafton will be permitted to address the council. Speakers will be permitted to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes. Groups of people will be required to designate a spokesperson to represent them before the council, who may speak for a maximum of 5 minutes. Please state your name and physical address for the record. Anybody? Sure.
Sandy Morris, 1781 Bar Avenue.
Is she on?
Someone?
Yes. Actually, it's picking it up. I don't think I didn't turn the mic on.
Oh, we did?
No, I left it off. I checked it. I left it off since it burns through those batteries in like 10 seconds. Just to push at the bottom.
Oh, that's better.
Sandy Morris, 1781 Bar Avenue. Two questions. One on the engineer's report. The easement for Perrine Street, is that at the end of Bar? Where you're gonna try to send the water over
Let's,
the hill?
yeah, let's let her go
Yeah.
through all first, then we can respond or not. Yeah.
Is it?
Just ask your questions as well.
Okay, next question.
Yeah.
Just with the garbage, I was just curious if the city collects for any other boroughs. So those are my two questions.
Thank you. All right. Does anybody want to address the Perrine Street?
Yeah, I can address both of them. The Perrine Street is so Broadhead has two pieces to it. Broadhead project, we lumped together another project, a sewer separation project for Perrine Street. So the 4 inlets at the bottom of Perrine Street would be separated and yes, sent over the hillside. And they would be sent down a culvert, but we've actually designed, we got pushback from that property owner. They didn't want it to just run down, so we have redesigned it and we have actual infrastructure that will be underground, and he'll have a manhole, and so it'll actually run underground as a storm sewer to where it outlets down at the creek.
So all the way down to the bottom.
I don't think it goes all the way down to the bottom. I think it goes to where the road to underneath Baldwick, and then that's where it lets out.
It does discharge to the stream at the bottom.
Okay, so it does go all the way to the bottom. I didn't know it went all the way to the bottom.
Okay, that's where the water line runs, right? The water main runs down that hill?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I was not aware of that, yeah. And then, what was the second question again?
Garbage.
Do we know if the city collects garbage for any other
Yes,
boroughs?
they collect it for Wilkinsburg and they have for 20 years, or maybe not 20 years, 15 years. And they collect, I think, for Mount Oliver. And that's it
Okay,
right now, yeah. But they've been asked over the last 5 years, been asked by several, and we're the first one that it seems like they're actually considering doing it. They had some capacity issues themselves. And that's what we're working on them with. But they had done it or they'd been asked by Churchill to do it. But it was early. They didn't have enough capacity to do it for Churchill. And they were asked for somebody else. I don't remember who. So,
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
yep.
Thank you. You ready, Charlene?
I think that's gonna start. I think it's that, Mike. Yeah. push that.
Made it stop.
Whoop. No. No. Got it, Mike? I think it's gonna. Yeah, I can turn it down.
Yeah, just notch it down a little bit.
Yeah. Now it should be better.
There.
Arlene, 9800 Fairview Avenue. I have a question about range. So if, when you do the work, when they repaved the last time, they made that edge on the one side go up, so water wouldn't go down, but it's so narrow and cars, if for two cars go by, you have to, your body and your car hits that ledge, it goes up like that. Can you fix that while you do the thing?
I mean, we can look into it when that design comes.
I don't know why they, and it's never there, but
You talking about the wedge curbing?
the blacktop and then the part that goes over in the woods goes up like this.
Yeah, that's a wedge curve. Yeah.
Yeah, that wedge curve was put in there to help direct the water into the inlets there, the catch basins on Parade Street. So I don't know, do you park on that side of Parade Street? Is that what the issue is?
No, but my hits the bottom of my car, and I have to go over it.
Okay. I mean, we can look into that when the design gets finalized.
Or maybe go over farther,
Okay,
maybe wider. I guess.
where exactly along there is the issue? Do you know? In front of what address or?
Well, mainly, I go mainly Clearview the bar, but I mean, it's down farther too.
Okay.
We'll have to look into the width.
Yeah, it's
of
the
where
first I've
that-
heard of this.
Yeah,
so-
if it's, the cartways should be 10 feet wide, so if, we'll see if it's less than, 9 to 10 feet wide. So we'll see if it's wide enough. I don't know off the top of our head. But it's typical lane width. I don't think that is a narrower lane width, but we'll double check it. Yeah.
Well, used to, I mean, before it was like that, it was wider.
Yeah.
The other question was about garbage. Are any of the proposals, or are you looking into the size of the garbage trucks?
That, yes and no. So we're not necessarily looking specifically at garbage trucks are garbage trucks.
The city has two different sizes, I know.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't looked into it. Is specifically, we know we're looking at the different automated features and whether they could be done here or not. But size of truck, we have not considered. Wasn't aware that there were multiple sizes, but that's when I'm going to these meetings with everybody, that's something we'll be discussing.
Was the larger trucks that we had from, I don't know how many years, I forgot to them last year when we were making the contract. They cannot, they go over the curves at our intersection, they cannot make that turn. They can't back in, they can't go forward, so either curve, both sides are cracked, but there's no way they will ever make it with the large. And years ago, we used to have the smaller trucks come up there. I'm not sure there's other intersections in Crawford that are similar. I mean, we look at that having, and the reason I went to the large is because it was cheaper, but I was just wondering if there was a way we can have both.
Yeah, we can look into it.
Okay, that's all, thank you.
Thank you, Charlene. That was great.
I'm grade one, yeah, I graduated at 1773 bar at Upton. My question is about garbage as well. It sounds like you have a draft for an RFP.
No.
I mean, you're working on a draft for an RFP.
So we are clear. just state what you need and then we can choose to answer or not, because we don't want it to be like it's back and forth. We have to keep with Robert's Rules of Order, so that's,
That's what one.
go ahead.
So anyway. We're working on a draft for an RFP to go after garbage collection suppliers, but then you also say that you had several meetings with the city of Pittsburgh. I was just curious about how that process works in a fair bid situation.
Oh, wait, is that it? Yeah. Is that it? Great. Okay, thank you. Then we can use some-
I'm happy to address it.
Okay.
Other municipal entities are treated differently. The city and the borough are permitted to enter into a contract without bidding under the borough. It would be an intergovernmental cooperation agreement negotiated between two municipal entities. Council would pass a resolution at a meeting and the relationship could proceed. So it's treated differently because it's a municipality. They're not in the business, quote unquote, right? It's not like a private entity. That's how it goes.
Just to reemphasize on the garbage contract, our current contract of 3 years ends this December. So we have to go out to get a new contract. And the current one that we can't renew. So we are very conscious of the costs, the size of the garbage cans, everything, and we want to make that public too. And we want to get the opinions when we get all of the RFPs, contracts, whatever in. So that's really important to us. We know what's happened in other communities. We were lucky that we had the 10-year, we were able to extend, but we understand we have to change. We're going to have, there's going to be changes and we're going to try our very, very hardest to make sure that it is the best we can get for the best price. So we are starting now for the contract for next year. Anybody else? Okay. Anybody on Zoom, please raise your hand. All right. With that, meeting's adjourned at 7:47. Everyone.